Well, tell us about y'all. We're glad you're here.
I'm Lisa Aiken, and we're glad to be here. I'm the director of the South Carolina State Library, so I'm the state librarian in South Carolina.
Wonderful.
My name is Ron Aiken. I'm the lucky husband, obviously. I'm the Media Relations Director for the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. We are history buffs. Matter of fact, our trip this weekend is just kind of a getaway. Wherever we find ourselves is where we stop. When we were driving past, we're on our way into Helen just to kind of take a tour around. We've been there before, and as we passed by, I saw the store, and it just was like a magnet. And I said to my wife, "We need to turn around." It's like, well, I don't know if there's not really a good place to do it. We went ahead and turned around at the little salon up there, took our lives in our own hands, trying to back out of there and come back. But we love pieces of history like this so much, because there's no better way to connect with your own history of who you are and where you come from than learning about the people that inhabited a place and poured so much into it for so long. I didn't know the history of the store was as amazing as it turns out to be, and meant so much to this community. But you feel it when you walk in the door, not just because you give such a warm introduction, partly because of that, but also just the place itself just has a really good energy about it and history and spirit that I think was just obvious. And like I said, it really felt like a magnet pull from the road driving past. I'm like, we need to go back there. It's right up our alley. And it turns out to have.
You feel like you're home almost. You walk in.
You do.
You feel like you were just returning to something that's, as you mentioned, just more spiritual than even physical.
Yeah, it's almost like a sacred ground when you walk on it, when you consider the people that have stood where you all stood today. Mm-hmm. Those very floors, the men shortly out of the Civil War built it. The Cherokee and the Chickasaw all were part of that. The Creeks even stood on those properties. Maybe not at the same time, because they weren't necessarily the closest of friends, even though they were they were related.
Yeah.
They were related. They were considered the civil tribes by the United States, because they assimilated themselves more into American culture than the other tribes. But nonetheless, there's pretty sacred ground you're walking on today. And I guess you got to see about it all. You spent a lot of time with Don.
We did. Very fortunate to learn a lot about the history, a lot about what pulled him to the store was what pulled us to the same store in North Carolina, the Mass General, the original one. We had been there, and we just love stopping at places. I like the fact that you could be on the porch here and look out and see the same, mountains around that the people in 1870 did. The view hadn't changed, and that's really nice.
Yeah, I mean, some of these trees, the trees are so old. I mean, what can they say?
Yes.
And who's been hung by them? But it's really, really quite amazing. And realizing that a real person, just like us, nailed the nails in those siding and put those floors in. I mean, it's not somebody from a novel,
right?
From a librarian standpoint.
Yeah, that's right.
Real people.
Real people's history, real people's steps. All came through the same door that we were through today, which is really interesting when you look at the hardware actually of the doors. I was looking at the hardware of the door, your side door, and it's really fascinating because it hasn't changed, right? And so it's the same structure, the same wood, all of that's the exact same.
Right. And the way that was the logic of the way the windows are latched with iron, it still amazes me, and I'm here all the time, and I'm always discovering things I haven't seen before. It's everything from the medicine bottles to the foodstuffs and things like that, and to think about a marvelous exchange. This was like I said, Walmart, but it was also the Walmart, so to speak. But it was the social gathering. Mm-hmm. It's where they did what you and I are doing right now. How's Mom and them?
Or got news, especially you talked about the Civil War. And it was after the Civil War, but still, right. Getting the news about this would have been a gathering place where people would have gotten all of their news about their loved ones, etc. Especially because they had the post office here.
Well, they had a newspaper, but probably not as current as what we would have today.
Mm-hmm, right.
I think our local paper comes out once a month. I have no idea how fast newspapers got out here, but it's been a pretty lengthy time.
And they would have been coming regularly, like you said, would be in the post office. So there's just a continual stream of people coming in. And as you mentioned, the hardware, the wood, just the care that went into the craftsmanship of building it is why those floors are still good. Wow, that's the original key.
Is that the original? Oh, wow.
Is that? Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing that it's still there and still in good shape.
Isn't that amazing? That is amazing. I don't think I'd seen that, or at least I hadn't. This is the original key that opened the room. It's a thin metal. I don't know what it's made out of, but some sort of metal, and it's looked quite simple, really. But obviously, you can see where it hit the casters, or the locks anyway, to lock it. It's quite an interesting piece.
It really just has one tooth almost.
It looks like a very long rectangle with a capital T. It's pretty thick, like a Tennessee T. We won't give them much credit, but at the end of it, a little bit down, and that's
I'm supposed to. I didn't even pick up on that, but yeah.
That's the tooth there, but yeah, it's amazing.
I would say something you said I wanted to just make a comment on, which was you come here and see things all the time that are new. To me, it seems more like a museum than a store. I mean, it's just sort of fortunate that you also can buy things while you're here. Truly, if you're somebody who likes history, because there's so much history, it is like a museum. It seems like we could spend a long time.
When you check out of the cash register, that's the post office.
Right.
I mean, the very place where the postmaster stood.
Right.
You know, the floors in there were like the floors in the old part. Of course, they've been, I don't know when those new floors were put in, but the new floors were put in years and years ago. But nonetheless, it looked just like that. So it's history wherever you look. And then, of course, if you look around in the newer, quote, newer part, you'll see all kinds of other art and antiques around the perimeter of the ceiling, above at the top of the walls and ceiling. But yeah, those shelves lined up. But anyway, it's fascinating. Like I say, I just Longby, I didn't see that. Over there, you know, and that tub, that picture, that plate, that tray. There's some of the trays in there that were actually, I think Coca-Cola made some of those trays, didn't they? Back in the 70s probably, 80s maybe. They made a replica of the store, and occasionally somebody will come in and say, "Hi, I've got one of those." We had a family come in not long ago.
Really?
They were celebrating their 32nd wedding anniversary, and when they were here, they got married up here. They came here on their honeymoon. They bought a picture of the store, and it's been hanging in their house for 33 years.
Oh, wow. That's so special.
And they came back, and we have a similar picture, well, the same picture here, that they had their picture. I took their picture for them.
Right.
Underneath that picture, right as you walk out of the post office area into the old part of the store. So that was real special.
The positivity that's associated with this spot, as we mentioned, some of the stories that people have shared with you from their childhood, from their lives, from their grandparents' lives, is really fascinating. There's something about the store when you're inside of it that you don't want to leave in a hurry. You don't want to just get out. You feel comfortable being there. We came in just to kind of walk around. That was about 3 hours ago.
Yeah. Well, the only ones that come in and out real fast are locals that come in to get cheese or cider. Or this morning before we opened, there was a lady that was coming to get some bath soap or something. And she said, "I've got to get some," and it was 9:30. We don't open until 10, but she was there, sat in her car for a while, and finally she came up and, "Can I come in? I only need to get one thing." And I said, "Well, get whatever you want if you're going to come in, you know." So, but she had one or two specific items she wanted to get, some bath soap, I think it was, something, or lotion or something. But she was headed to a shower or a birthday party or something. But she knew what she wanted when she come in, so she wasn't around that. But she, again, relatively local person, knew what was here, knew what she wanted. You know, I've said this time and again. I'm sure I've said it on these podcasts that people would not give me the time of day. They come in, boom. They come in and get their product, move out. And I would venture to say probably half of the cheese we sell here are from local people. And I imagine that's not true in every, quote, gift area or tourist area. You know, just the tourists and the locals get a few things, but people come in and get that cheese.
I was going to mention the cheese. I was just going to wait, but it is fantastic. We bought some too because it was so good. It's like really rich and creamy. It's just amazing.
My great grandkids will come up to me, "Oh, Papa, it's good to see you. Did you bring me cheese?"
Yes, I believe that. And you'll be having an Aiken order from us.
How much of that also, the cheese is good, but to know where you got it and that it's from this place adds something to it, I think, that's special. It's not just the cheese I can get at a Whole Foods or someplace where they have everything in the world there. It's that cheese from that store.
Right.
In that place we visited and had a wonderful time.
It comes directly from Sweden here, you know, as it has for 60 years. You know, so that makes it phenomenally special.
I think it's wonderful that you have music here, that you have
I hate we missed that today.
Options and alternatives for
music.
people to spend more time, because like I mentioned to Don, you could spend an hour, 2 hours here longer and not feel like you wasted any of that time. Not like, oh my God, what was I doing?
Terribly uncommon. We've had people come here and sit in that rocking chair for an hour or two, or maybe the family's in, or the kids are in there in the store doing something, and families, the rest of grown-ups are sitting out front, or vice versa, and they're out there playing checkers on the front porch. A lot of dads have taught their kids to play checkers on the front porch.
Wow, that's so special. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
And the bottle cap, we have bottle cap checker pieces, which kind of has evolved. We did have regular old checker pieces, but they've kind of gotten broken or stolen or whatever.
So replaced, just like they would in your house.
But they enjoy the bottle caps. They'll turn them one way for black and the other way for red. So they,
the other thing I mentioned, or I saw rather, and I asked about was the caskets, and I don't know that's. There are lots of pieces that you could talk about in the store, right? But I do cemetery preservation. I'm interested in that, and so seeing the older caskets is really interesting.
What I know about that, I don't know when that started.
Right.
I do know from listening to other people talk that number one, you could buy it here.
Right.
But it
just
wasn't
practical.
But most people made their own back
right.
then. So if you had some bucks, you could probably order one. But that was just it. It wasn't. These are small,
right.
like for a very small person or child. Pardon me. But you could order one as a salesman sample. And so now you'd have to plan ahead, because you unless it came from Gainesville or Clarksville or somebody fairly close, you couldn't get it for Grandma because they wanted to bury her the next day or something.
But for perspective, I've been to Washington D.C. I don't know 100 times, and I've been to the Smithsonian's, Smithsonian's multiple times. I've been there for work, but you can't see those caskets in any of the Smithsonian's. They're not part of the history that you can go and see about America.
Unless it's King Tut or something like
that.
Right,
exactly, yeah. And so it is interesting that you all have that, and it's a historical.
It's creepy. Some people it really creeps them out.
So for me, it's not right.
But at the same token, it's part of the DNA.
It is, right, absolutely.
Touchstone to
really
life and culture and society.
It proves that you could get everything here.
Well,
right,
yeah,
like this was
really
the place
it was
to be.
Deep. It was nothing else.
Yes,
was around.
right. That's right.
Helen wasn't developed like it is now. Of course it wasn't. Of course, that's only been 60, 70 years. 60 years really that it's been much like it is, or at least that's when it was started back in the 70s, I believe, when it actually started to emerge. So that's just 50 or so years ago. And this was it. And if you wanted and I suppose they traded back then too. They come in and chickens for beef or for vegetables or whatever, and so this was such a melting pot for the community. And I can't stress enough that what we're doing, experiencing today, where it's just us talking, I really believe that, well, I know for a fact that was what this was about back then.
Right.
Whether I needed something or not, I would find a reason to go up to the store because I wanted to see what was going on. That's what you're talking about a minute ago when you're talking about the post and that sort of thing. I want to see what's going on in town. Just like if you watched Green Acres, Sam Drucker, you had to go out to the store, or not Petticoat Junction, what was the other one? Prairie, Little House on the Prairie. The Olsons, they'd go into the store. Well, that is even though that's a Hollywood version, still what happened there happened here. And they knew the families. They knew when Laura was missing, when they couldn't find somebody's puppy dog or cows were loose.
Well, and even though it's a Hollywood version, it's still based on her life story.
Oh yeah, sure.
So I mean, it's at least our way that we got to experience it.
And but the story, the concept, and that's exactly what happened.
But you see it here,
And what I don't know what you were recreating. I don't think Don and Rosemary set out to say, okay, let's recreate what it once was.
Right.
But I think it's almost doing that.
It sort of does it on its own, probably.
When
it probably
has
a life of its own that you just have to tap into, I would imagine.
When you're looking at a Sears catalog that probably people ordered from, that's from that time period, that's a way to, I'm standing in the same spot, perhaps even, at the counter looking at the Sears catalog at the $13 double barrel shotgun that looks gorgeous, and they would have leafed through those same catalogs to look for goods, for items, for materials, for things for weddings, for presents. When you can look at that, the
or to
photo,
just dream.
that's right, aspirational.
Yeah.
The photo album that we looked through and just saw a few pictures of, those are just the people that came here and did the same thing for the same reasons that we're doing today.
Right. Those listening might be able to hear we're under the tin roof of the picking porch, or whatever we call this, and today has been cool, then warm, then sunshine, then storm. Then it got nice again, and now it's starting to sprinkle again. So you may hear the pitter patter of.
I was going to say, what a great choice that you all did in putting tin up.
Oh yeah, that's.
There's no more comforting sound to a Southerner than.
Now, it can get real loud in a few minutes. We'll have to be hollering at each other right off. But well, listen, this has been good. I appreciate you all
so much.
visiting with us and taking the time to do this. This is fun. The podcast is something it's fairly new. Well, it is new, just a few weeks. And we're just trying to let folks know about what the store's about. And folks like yourself come in all the time from all over. I tell people all the time, remind them that every state in the Union and every continent of the world has been in the Saltese store in the last 12 months.
Amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
Yeah. How they find us on this little two-lane highway, 17 here.
I'm just glad you didn't kick us out, because we were here so long. I was like, they're going to get tired of it. They're going to be like, all right, see y'all later. So
we were about
nice.
to. You know, time to Don and I were talking to ourselves.
That's right.
Let's
We
get
got
them on the podcast, and then maybe look
If you're not going to buy anything, you need to go ahead and shovel that.
No, we love it when people come and stay, because they, again, the very reasons we've discussed. They feel at home. They feel comfortable.
Yes, yeah.
Here, and we hope that our staff makes you feel comfortable.
Yes.
Well, I think this building certainly has another 100 years at least in it. It's solid. Think of the storms in a valley like this that it would have gone through to still be in good shape. People, you can imagine, people would have come in from the weather, even if they were nearby.
Oh, sure. We had it was last fall, I guess it was. We had a real big storm on a Saturday afternoon, and the lights went out. I mean, we had to close the door because the wind was blowing so hard.
Right.
And the lights went out, and what did we do? We sang.
Oh,
so we got everybody
see,
singing,
that's
and we
what
sang
this place.
some
Yeah,
silly
I
songs,
believe
some
that.
gospel songs, and you know, when we pick and grin, we play the country. People enjoy it and they sing along. When they do the bluegrass, they kind of do the same. We do the gospel tunes. Everybody in the place starts singing. I mean, they're standing in this door, they're standing on here, they're standing out in the parking lot, they're standing on the porch, and people just gather when we start singing the gospel songs. But that's exactly what happens. You know, you got instant in season and out of season. Do whatever you got to do. You know, but people didn't have a chance to get frightened because of the storm, because we were just having so much good time laughing.
How special.
You never feel like, I think you've overstayed your welcome here, and it's hard to leave.
Well, matter of fact, you can help us close up here in a little bit.
Yeah, well, thank you y'all so much for having us.
Well, thank you for taking the time. God bless you all. Have a
Thank you
safe
so much.
trip and the rest of your time together.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.